What is good, everybody? Nathan Lombardo here with Lambo Media, and across the screen for me is a very, very special guest. Really excited for this interview episode is Justin Simmons, 2020-2021 Pro Bowl selection. First time Pro Bowl selection for him coming off of a unbelievably sensational season. Also, NFL Walter Payton Man of the Year for the Denver Broncos in 2020. Justin, really appreciate you hopping on. What have you been up to during this, off season so far?
Yeah, no, first, thanks for having me, man. I know we've been working on this for a while. I appreciate you, reaching out. I'm glad we got to do it, and appreciate the question. Yeah, off season's been great. It's I always love, the off season just because you put so much into the regular season, you put so much time into your craft, and so it's really nice to just get to hang out with the family, and I've really got to spend a lot of time with my 2.5-year-old daughter now, and obviously my wife. And even during a pandemic, it's nice just to be at home, enjoy the little things, and catch up on some lost time that you lose during the season. So it's great.
Yeah, absolutely. And skill set wise, what are you trying to improve the most as far as your game style and your gameplay goes here in this 2021 offseason? Is there something in particular you're trying to harp and focus on to improve, to get ready for the 2021 season?
Yeah. That's the biggest thing you do. Every offseason, it's always the main thing you go into, the next season, like objective wise, the main thing you go into the next season with is like, okay, I know what I did last season is not going to matter. That's the beauty about the NFL. Every year, you have to consistently reprove yourself. And that's how, at least in my opinion, you go from, good players to great players to elite players. It's the guys that are able to stack seasons successfully at an elite level. And so, for myself, recognizing that the past few years have been pretty good. If I want to make sure, I'm consistently on that type of level, I always have to look to not maintain, but improve. Right. And that's in all aspects of the game, right? I mean, there's no way you're going to be perfect, but, going back to last season, looking at some missed tackles, looking at maybe some wrong reads, looking at some one-on-one coverages where I could have played it a lot better. In those moments, recognizing what I did wrong, what I could improve on, and taking those and improving on those this offseason. So, that's really what it comes down to, is making sure that I can do that. And then obviously, of course, maximizing your mental ability, a part of the playbook at the safety position, making sure you get guys in the right spots and you're lining up in the right spots yourself. So your defense can be as successful as possible.
Right. And it sounds like, what you're really harping on is not being comfortable with your current position. I think that applies not only to the football side of things, but in life in general, on the business side of things, really anything, not being comfortable with your current position, your current success, and always improving. And I really love that. And, I mentioned this in the intro, first Pro Bowl selection in the 2020 season. What was your initial reaction after finding out that you had officially been selected to be a first-time Pro Bowler?
Yeah, that's crazy, man. After not this previous season, but the season beforehand, where I thought I had a pretty good resume. I thought I had a pretty solid season, and I was like, I think there's a really good shot I get into, my first Pro Bowl this year. Mm-hmm. And it ended up not happening. Wasn't even selected as an alternate. It was pretty disappointing, and so that just really motivated me, though, for next season. And I know everyone talks about there's flaws in the Pro Bowl voting, because fans get the vote. Sometimes guys that are deserving don't get in, but it's still an accomplishment that guys shoot and reach for. By no means do I think it devalues a certain type of player and takes away from the season that they've had, but you always reach and strive for trying to put that as an accolade on your resume as being a Pro Bowler. And so that just did nothing but motivate me. And really, it was just a blessing. I think this season, it meant even more than it would have last season, just because of the pandemic. We played a game without a quarterback. Yep. I played this season, with Kareem with 10 different corners, due to our corners getting hurt and the pandemic with being sick. And it just was a wild year, man. It was a wild year, so much adversity. And it just really meant a lot, to kind of fight through that adversity. and to find a way to make it. And on top of all of that, to make it and to share that moment with Chubb, his first Pro Bowl season coming off an ACL tear, and for him to bounce back like that, selfishly, it was so cool to be a part of that for him, man, just be able to share that with him. And it was cool, man. It was really cool.
Absolutely. Well, Justin, congrats on that. And would you say that 2019, 2020, you mentioned that Pro Bowl snub per se, would you say that kind of put a chip on your shoulder to, lead you to push even harder into this 2020, 2021 season, and then even going on throughout the rest of your career to kind of, maybe quote unquote prove people wrong?
Yeah, for sure. I think after that season, I sat down, reflect on the year. Obviously, it was a contract year, so there's a lot of motivation in that year, in and of itself. But I'm looking back on that season after it was done, and I'm like, man, I'm so proud of how I played, of how I figured things out throughout the year. So thankful for my teammates and helping me with that. And I was just so, just sitting there reflecting. And then after I didn't make it into the Pro Bowl, I was really thankful because I felt like I was almost, we talked in the beginning of the show talking about how you always need to find something that's consistently pushing you, right, and elevating your game, year in and year out, because it doesn't matter what you did the year before. And, there's a part of me that was low key getting comfortable with playing the way that I did that last season, almost like for the rest of my career. And I was really humbled because I didn't make the Pro Bowl. So it really sparked a fire to kind of really put that flame under me. That was just like, okay, man, I realized even if I had a good season, it's obviously not good enough for Pro Bowl standards or even first team All Pro standards, right? I made second team. And so I was like, okay, well, dang, I got to do way more than I've been doing, And then, transitioning into this season, obviously I set big goals for myself and ended up making the Pro Bowl, missed out on the All Pro selections. So it's like, okay, well, if this is the way it's going to go, I got to make sure I go harder this offseason so that I can stack a Pro Bowl and an All Pro, at the same time under my belt. And so I feel like there's always something, you know what I mean? There's always something. And I'm thankful too, man, because there's a great group of safeties, in that All Pro selection and then Pro Bowl selections. And so to compete with those guys, man, for those spots is gonna keep making me better.
Absolutely. Walter Payton, Man of the Year, first-time Pro Bowler in the 2020-2021 season. What would you say is the biggest thing pushing you up to this point? Is it, getting a Super Bowl win? Is it another Pro Bowl? What's that one thing that's kind of, motivating you and pushing you even harder up to this point?
Yeah, the biggest thing that pushes me, and anyone that knows me would, testify that this is true, is honestly the guy that Walter Payton was. I obviously didn't have the opportunity to, really watch him play. My dad was a huge fan of Walter Payton's. And so what really motivates me every single year, and I'm starting to find my niche and my groove, right? I'm heading into year 6 next season. And, setting that foundation, I'm really starting to figure out like what really makes me go, what I'm really passionate about. And I'm so passionate about the game of football, but I'm just as passionate, if not more passionate, about the people that I can impact outside of the game. And so that's really, I realize that as the platform, may grow over time and even may shrink over time, whatever the case may be, I'm just thankful for this journey. And I want to maximize my football platform as much as I can, because I know it'll maximize my potential to really reach out and to be, an integral part of so many people's lives. And, anyone that knows me knows I'm really passionate about the youth, but just people, and even people in general, man, like trying to leave the world in a better place than, what I came into or when, when I found it and stuff like that. And so that's really, man, what motivates me to just be like the best version of myself, So, yeah.
Okay, and you're really harping on, giving back not only to the youth, but just people in general, like you just mentioned. But what's the biggest reason why? I want to get the why behind, why you're giving back so much. You got the Justin Simmons Foundation logo right behind you right now. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about why you're doing all of this, a little bit about the Justin Simmons Foundation, and then, after that, just a little bit about the Walter Payton Man of the Year selection and, your initial reaction after finding out that you had been selected to that and, the meaning behind that.
Yeah, man. Thank you for the question. It's the short answer of why is because people matter, all people. It's not. There's no hierarchy of of individuals based off status or wealth or anything like that, man. It's it's really just simple. Like people matter, kids, youth matter, and so why not invest into them the same way people would invest into pro athletes or people that have the quote unquote status, the quote unquote wealth, you know what I mean? And so I just remember, man, when I was a kid, and when I was growing up, I had a bunch of struggles that I was going through, and we won't get into a whole, sob fest about that. But I just can't remember, man, if I didn't have certain individuals that really, valued who I was and really, like just poured into me as an individual. And then obviously the biggest one, is just like my relationship with Jesus and finding that relationship and having that be the foundation of my life. If I didn't have those people pour into me, man, there's no way I'd be where I'm at doing what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? Right. At the level that I'm doing it at. And it's all thanks to the people that invested into me. And so I know the power of someone speaking life over you and having that foundation, right, of a relationship with Christ. And I just think, man, through intentional relationships with people and showing people that you care, it could just maximize their potential and ability to really reach, the level of success that they want to reach. And it's really just that simple. And so that's really my only reason why is because I've seen it. Like I'm a product of someone investing into me or certain individuals investing into me and making it happen. I think a great example, and not to harp too long, but I look at like this like this talk that we're having right now, this interview. I don't always look through, social media. I know, there's a bunch of stuff that you'll get and you'll receive. And so I tend to just like, turn the other way when it comes to social media and stuff like that. Not a big phone guy in the first place, but like this talk show, right? Like this is, I'm assuming this is something that, you want to do, make a career out of, right? And I don't even know the background, the story, you know what I mean? But like, you're really good at this. You ask great questions. You prepped me before, we got on here. You were persistent, which is great. You know what I mean? To be able to do stuff like that. And so like, why not do an interview, with you? Like there's I don't have to be exclusive to ESPN and First Take and Good Morning Football. Like all those people are great, but like, who's to say you couldn't be the next Good Morning Football host or analyst or, you know what I mean? And so like, why not invest into those people? Why not do stuff like that? So that's what it's all about. It's not about anything else other than that, man. But I'm serious too, man. This is great. Like you do such a great job, man.
Thank you. I got the Dalton Reisner quote back here when he was on my show from milehighsports.com, because I'm also on a radio show there. Check him out if you haven't already. To all of the viewers and listeners, I might have to get a little quote of yours from what you just said added to the little studio setup. But I want to talk to you a little bit about the 2020 season in particular. It was tough for everybody, not just on the sports side of things, but it really was difficult for everyone on the sports side of things in 2020, but the Broncos in particular. A season full of injuries, Von Miller, a whole bunch of mishaps, no AJ Boye. There's a lot of differences in the 2020 season in particular. So I want to talk to you a little bit about that and the biggest difference you noticed in that 2020 season, as far as that aspect goes. Was it having no Broncos country in the stands to cheer you on? What was that difference?
Yeah, the season, we talked about how, thankful I was, for the season and the growth. And it was, But on the same, on the same token, man, the season was extremely difficult. It was like that balance of just like, it was just bittersweet. It's something that I was super thankful for, but at the same time, I'm like, man, like I'm really not even just myself, like as our team, like we're really being tested, as so many other teams were. But you just look at, like, I think, what some of the things that were just like stacked against us and you had to fight through. Like I mentioned earlier, one game we played without a quarterback, right? Like we on defense, we played with 10 different corners. Our D line was shuffled all year round. Our O-line, shuffled in and out all year round. Cortland goes down first, before even the first game of the season. Vaughn's out for the season. I mean, there's so many things that happen that your team, you're so amped up and ready to go, with all the additions that you get on defense, and Drew's coming into his second year. Oh yeah. And then not to mention, we get a new OC. OTAs and training camp are limited. So Drew can't even meet up with his new rookie wide receivers to run routes, to get the playbook down, as good as you need to going into a season. So, and not to mention, Cortland's out. So it's just crazy, man. It was just a wild year. And with all that, that I just said, what I loved most about the team is like we never, those guys, man, never complained, never use anything as an excuse. We recognize the winning tradition that is in Broncos country, and there's nothing more than the guys want to do to get back to that winning tradition, get back to consistently being in the playoffs, have home field advantage, getting to Super Bowls, winning Super Bowls. We know the expectations here are high. And we are going to get back to that place. It does, unfortunately, just take time to build guys up. And I think there's a great culture and foundation that is being built there, in Denver. And I know, it's just like in the middle of free agency, I hope I'm back, this, that, and the other. I want to be back. But regardless, I think something special is really being built there, and I'm just really looking forward to to seeing the Broncos get back to where they need to be. And playing without fans was awful. Like it was like the worst thing I've ever experienced, man. You just go from like, it's just something that you take for granted, right? Like it's just so natural. Like you're just so used to going into a stadium, walking out of that tunnel and seeing like a sea of orange, right? And all these, 70,000 plus fans cheering for you. And it's to not have that, like that energy was just like, that was another thing you had to work through, was like energy, which sounds crazy, but just, you're so used to feeding off the crowd's energy. You had to manifest that yourself. Right. And so it's just crazy, man. It was a lot of, it's a lot of adversity. Nothing that we faced that other teams didn't, it was universal around the league for the most part, but it's just a wild year.
Yeah, but at the same time, would you say kind of going on the road and not having, the opposing team's fans in your ear and not being able to hear, K-Jack on your side, or even, the defensive line, would you say that kind of benefited you guys on the road? Or, were you kind of acclimated to that after, 2 or 3 seasons, and you kind of found a way to, adjust around that?
Yeah, you get kind of acclimated on that at least from a defensive standpoint, just because typically – you pack your defense for road games, and the home crowd, they obviously get, super amped, super excited off big plays on offense. But, the offensive home team loves to work their snap count, right? Silent, like whatever it is, like they love to work their snap count. So typically, the home teams are pretty silent when the defense is out there for an away game. But this year at a home game was really weird. Like I just finished up my 5th season, and obviously this was the first year where, on defense at home, like I could hear everything. I'm so used to being out on the field on defense and like working signals, like, running across the field left and right so people can hear me, because it's just so loud every single game. And this year at home, it was just so weird. I felt like there were times I was at an away game, because it was just like, that's the type of vibe, atmosphere that you're used to. You know what I mean? And so it was just crazy. Like I said, man, it's just like a surreal season. It was just unreal.
Yeah, I bet. And maybe for second year guys, I'm not too sure, because I don't have firsthand experience, obviously, but for second year guys going into this 2021 season, it might be a slap in the wrist, because, they may be so used to not having full capacity in the stands and everyone being in their ear, and then they come here in the second season, and then it's like, wow, if it's full capacity, but I'm not too sure, what that's looking like. You mentioned free agency, Justin. I want to touch up on that a little bit, if you don't mind, and what that has kind of looked like thus far with the free agency process. And you mentioned you possibly want to be back in Denver. Why do you think you would be a good fit in Denver, and then Denver would be a good fit for you?
Yeah, I think that that partnership has worked. I also I understand that it's a business, and it's a business on both sides of the spectrum, right? Like I obviously understand everything that comes with that. The Broncos are going to do what's best for the Broncos, and I'm going to do what's best for my family. And
Right.
at the end of the day, that's just where it is when it comes to our sport. But with all that being said, I don't think it's there's no mystery that I've always said confidently, even after the last season of the game, this previous season, that I want to be back. I love it here. Denver's a great place. I felt like I've really built a great foundation. And I feel like, when we're talking about also getting back to the way, Broncos country is used to, the winning tradition that's here in the Broncos organization. I just feel like I'm a huge, integral part of that process. And I feel like, if I am to come back and, for whatever it is, however many years, I just know that I can really help push and catapult this thing and get it back to the way it was. And I want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of that process, and I want to make sure that happens. And so, but like I said, at the end of the day, it is a business. And so if things, don't work out, then they just don't work out. But I'm, really hoping that they do.
Absolutely. Well, I know as a Denver fan, being here in Colorado, we definitely want you back, Justin Simmons, because you're definitely a key piece to this Denver Broncos' defensive side of things. But Justin, I want to wrap it up with one of the last topics. I want to talk to you a little bit about your favorite Broncos' uniform. Is it that color rushed uni, or is it that orange uni? What's your favorite uni for the Denver Broncos?
Yeah, my absolute favorite is the blue on blue.
Okay.
That blue on blue. I don't know what it is, man. That's just like, and maybe it's because like we rarely wear, blue on blue. We might throw in some blue, with the white pants, and obviously our home games orange and white. I love the orange and white is a classic. It's really clean for our home games. And I love our color rush, the all orange. I feel like is sweet. It's a cool change up.
Yeah,
Yeah, but that blue on blue, man, that's probably my favorite. Like that's the one I look forward to the most.
Yeah, those are clean. Well, I want to wrap up this interview, Justin, with talking to you a little bit about, the importance of Kareem Jackson by your side, and, how important that was for you and your success. Because obviously you guys have a very good bond. You guys complemented each other very well in this 2020 season in particular. Talk to me a little bit about the benefits of having K-Jack a little bit by your side, and, what makes a guy like Kareem Jackson so special?
Yeah, Kareem has a special quality that, you just don't get in too many guys, especially at that, in the secondary in general, right? Because he's played corner, he's played nickel, he's played safety, which is unique.
Right.
And, what's even more unique is he's done it for 10 plus years. So I think that's the most valuable, attribute about Kareem is he's been around the league. He knows what offensive coordinators like to do. He knows how to play the defense according to what the offense likes to do. And so he's a very cerebral, type of study, of his type of player when we're going in throughout the week. So, I had the opportunity to play with TJ, Stu, Akib, Chris, Roby, and even watching how they prepped, like getting a little taste of that with the no-fly zone, I felt like really helped catapult my career. And then adding someone like Kareem to it just, did nothing but help it flourish. And so learning from all those guys has just been great. And it's really helped me create like, my own style of study, throughout a week, and then finding out, a game plan to really attack and execute by Sunday, and having that, you know, being executed at a high level. So Kareem's been awesome, man. He's been a guy that is, you know, it's almost, it just feels like he's just like irreplaceable, you know, with what he does and what he can do and how he contributes. And so Kareem's been great, man. He's a great buddy of mine. He's been great.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Justin, I really appreciate you hopping on. And like every interview I do, Lambo Media listeners, I ask my interviewee to nominate someone else to do an interview with me, Lambo Media. So if Justin, you could do that, that would be great. Just nominate someone else to do an interview with me.
Oh yeah, let me think, man. You know, if we could, I'm gonna nominate my boy Deontay Spencer.
Okay.
I feel like Spence is, obviously I'm biased. I feel like he's one of the best, you know, returners in the league. I feel like he's not getting the credit he deserves, and I feel like he's just poised to keep growing. You know, each and every year he has a cool story of his journey to the NFL. So I feel like Spence would be a good one for you.
Absolutely. Well, Deontay, I look forward to hopefully speaking to you soon. Justin, I really appreciate you hopping on. It really means a lot. Best of luck in the future. And, you know, best of luck. Stay healthy, and we'll for sure stay in touch.
Yeah, for sure. Yo, thank you so much for having me, man. Lambo Media was great. I'm looking forward to doing something again, maybe in the future. And hopefully we get Spence on here too, so you can get another interview with him.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Justin.
Yo, thank you, man.